Are tackle pads helping or damaging your tackle technique? Let's find out. Yes squad, welcome back to the Rugby Trainer TV, your go-to place for anything rugby to level up your game. I'm Ben John and today we are talking all things tackle pads, whether they help your game or not. Let me know in the comments below if you find using tackle pads has helped your tackle technique. I'd love to hear from you. So today I'm going to give my point of view and why I think using tackle pads can help your tackle technique and where they fit into your practice. So make sure you stick around at the end because I'm going to drop 5 must-do drills using a tackle pad that's going to help level up that skill. Just before we start, make sure you click this link here to get your free 7-day training program for my online rugby academy, which touches on 7 different sessions for 7 different days. Tackling is included, so make sure you click here, get it now. Let's go. So firstly, let's talk about the 3 common mistakes I see when using a tackle pad. First one is the Superman. I used to absolutely love doing this as a kid. When they brought the tackle pad out, I would be standing a few meters away, running up as fast as I can, jumping, Superman in the air, making a shot in this pad. The only issue with that is it doesn't transfer over to our tackle because we want to get this foot nice and close to the pad. So that first issue is we're jumping from here into the pads, okay? Common mistake number 2, which I see a lot of, is our tackle height. We are tackling way too high, especially with the new laws now. We want to be making sure that we can vary our height and we are tackling nice and low. So let's make sure that we put a target on the pad, which I'll show you later. I'll show you a little secret what I do to help encourage players to tackle a little bit lower. So that is the second common mistake, is our height in the tackle. And the final and third common mistake is our feet. As we make our tackle, I see a lot of this. As we make our tackle, we're hitting, but we just switch our legs off. Our legs don't work. We kind of just like fall over with the pad. So can we think about drive through that pad, which again, I'll touch on a little bit later in the technique section, but make sure that we are using our legs even after this pad is falling down on the floor. So those 3 mistakes are what is hindering your tackle technique when using a tackle pad, but don't worry, we're going to fix that in the next few sections. Let's get into it. So where do tackle pads fit into our training? So firstly, they're excellent for warming up, breaking down some of the techniques into small little steps, manageable steps that we can build up over the practice. Also, it helps us manage the tackle load so we can reduce the risk of injury. Also, they're absolutely quality piece of kit for conditioning. But how does this all put together, how does this actually help our tackle technique? So using a tackle pad is only half the practice. I want to make sure that you're still using players to tackle. But again, we can use this to manage our load. And like I said, we can break down the skill. So for example, I'll show you this in the 5 drills at the end, but this is a little thing to think about is, I mentioned earlier about getting your foot in close and driving through the pad because our legs just aren't getting used in the common mistakes. So when we're using this pad, what we can do is think of it as a 100-meter sprinter. Can you generate power off the mark, okay? So what I mean by that is you're getting your foot nice and close to this pad. You're nice and relaxed. Can we then drop our height quickly and explode through our front leg and drive our back leg through? And this is a great way, again, to use as a warm-up tool to then advance then into our 1v1 tackling and whatnot. So it's a great way to break down skills, but also apply power and drill down some techniques that goes missing sometimes when we do a one-on-one because we just want to smash the player in front of us. So it's a good way to focus on individual parts of the tackle technique and then build them up throughout the session. Right then, so let's get into the nitty and gritty of the tackle technique using a pad. I'll give you 3 tips, but before we start, these are things to think about when using the pad and why they are good. Firstly, it helps with decision making, okay? So we can use different drills, which I'll show you at the end, to challenge our decision making. So which shoulder we go with, which foot goes close, where do we put our head, and also breaking down the skill, and then we can build it back up. So the first tip is our foot placement. Like I mentioned in the common mistakes is we do the Superman dive, but can we get our foot nice and close? So obviously if we're tackling with our right shoulder, we want to get our right foot nice and close, but this is a good little cue for you if you are struggling with that, is grab yourself a red band. When you get a red band, you can put it around the pad, and then you're encouraging players then, or yourself, to place your foot into the band and then drive through the tackle. The second tip is our height. And I'm going to give you a little cue using a bit of tape and a pen, and we can put numbers on this pad. So when you are going up to the pad, you can call a number out, or your teammate or your coach or your friend can call that number out, and you have to adjust to that number. But the cool thing about it is you always have to look at that number. So that's helping us then focus on the target of which we want to hit. So for example, if there was a number 2 there, I'd be looking at the 2, making the tackle on the 2, helps me adjust my height, but also helps me keep my head up and focus on that number. Not every tackle is going to be the same height, because we're going to have different players of different sizes. So that's a great way to then adjust your height according to the picture in front of you. So that's a really good drill. So grab yourself a pen and tape, put it on the pad, and that's going to challenge you. And the third tip is probably the most important, is your squeeze and chase, okay? So as you're making your hit, you've got your foot in nice and close, you've got the correct height. Now you're hitting through, so you're hitting through the pad by driving through this front leg. So think about, as you plant this foot, you're driving through the front leg, you're driving through the second leg, so you're thinking drive, drive. As you do that, you're wrapping your arms and you're squeezing your biceps to your body. You're squeezing your head to the pad. So a lot of us, to try and protect our head, we move our head away from the pad, and then that's exposing us, right? So as you make your hit, you want to get your head through. As you get your head through, you want to be squeezing everything together. You want to be getting your biceps nice and tight. You want to be getting your head onto their bum cheek and squeezing. Everything's tight. As you're doing that, you're pumping your legs. This foot drives. This is the first drive there. As that drives through, this one has to drive and go again, okay? So drive, drive, squeeze, nice and tight. So we're now into the 5 tackle drills. The bonus section is going to give you 5 drills that's going to help level up your tackle pad skills. It's going to cross over to your tackling technique. So drill number 1 is just the explosion, the drop and explode through. So you're going to get your foot nice and close to this pad. If I'm using my right shoulder, my right foot nice and close. You're going to be in a nice forward position, leaning position. You're nice and relaxed. Just come off the line now in your defensive shape. Coming off the line, so you're going to be leaning forward. We want to be avoiding this shape. So you're slightly leaning forward, nice and relaxed. Hands nice and relaxed as well. And from here, you're going to call a number, 1 or 2. You're going to drop to that height, explode. I want to see a change of pace, and then boom, you explode and chase your feet as well as squeezing the pad. Let's give it a go. So the next drill is shift and hit. So we're starting to introduce a little bit of footwork. Can we then get our foot in the correct position? Can we drop our height off a few steps? But again, the shift decision here, so I've got 2 cones, I've got a red and a white. If I call white cone, I shift. But now the decision then is, which shoulder do I hit with? Which foot do I get close? Can I chop my feet ever so slightly in this small little area and still generate a lot of power, chase our feet? So this one starts to challenge now our decision making, but our ability to apply the technique with just this pad. So the third drill is starting to challenge our decision making. So I've got 4 cones here. We're coming from 4 different directions. Can we do this at pace with power, but also make the correct decision where our foot goes, where our head goes? So this this attacker is always running down this direction. So imagine they're always running in this direction, but we are coming from different entry points to the tackle. So for example, if I call orange, I'm running to this cone. Now I've got to turn, and then I've got to turn and then adjust my body, my head, my foot to the tackle. This is a tough one. This is starting to challenge now our decision making with the correct technique applying on this pad. If you want more drills like this, I've got them in my online rugby academy. Read the description below. You can get your hands on them. The fourth part is our footwork. Can we challenge our footwork now to get into the best position possible to firstly have the ability to power through the tackle, drop our height, hit, squeeze, and always finish on top of this pad. So I've got, again, a series of different drills, but this is an example of something I introduce players to start with. So this one is, you're coming off the line here. There's a gate here which you can't go through, and there's 2 gates. There's a red gate and a blue gate. So I'll call the color gate out. So I'll say red. Then I've got to slightly shift to my left side. Then I've got to get back in control of my feet, keeping the speed up, keeping this forward lean. then go up to this pad and then make a decision on the pad whether it's a 1 or 2 depending on the calls, okay? And the same on this side. If I call blue, you've got to shift ever so slightly, get back in control of your feet, keeping the good pace, keeping the ability to execute the technique. And then, as I said, loads of different drills like this in my academy, so make sure you read the description, check that out. So the final one is doing all of this under fatigue. So can we get tired? So I've got this little drill here. Again, I've got a bucket full of these different drills, but this is a really basic one we can start with. Is can you make a decision when you're tired and still execute a really good tackle using this pad? So for example, I would start here, I would call a color cone. So I've got red cone here, blue cone there, and then orange is when we make the tackle. So if I say red cone, I get to red cone, I backpedal into position. Blue cone, backpedal into position. If I want to, I can throw some down ups in there, some whatever, some jumps. And then when I say orange, I come off the line and I make the tackle, call in 1 or 2 to make a good read on that. So there we go. I've just given you my reasons why I think tackle pads help with our tackle technique. But again, they come hand in hand with tackle drills. So I always use these to warm up our session. So if I was doing a 20-minute tackle session, I would do the first little block with using pads, focusing on fundamental parts of the tackle technique, the areas of which the individual needs to work on, and then I would start introducing then a player, so then we can see if we can apply that then to tackle techniques. A really good way to reduce the intensity of the sessions, while also focus on that individual part of the tackle technique, and great for warming up as well. But make sure though, if you are on your own and you have got a tackle pad and you still want to level up your tackle, you check out this video here. This is 10 drills you can do on your own using a tackle pad. You can check on my academy where you can get weekly feedback from me so I can help you. But if you want to trial my academy, 7-day free trial, you can get your hands on that. Again, that's totally free. Get involved. But then a massive thank you for subscribing. If you want to level up your rugby, keep watching my channel. I do a video every 2 weeks and reels every day. So thanks again. See you next time.